And I finish up with a short talk about the significance of 314. Today happens to be March 14th. Just happened to be that day we needed to pick a Sunday between the Chagim, between Purim and Pesach, and so it was happened to be today, but 314 has some significance. A lot of people today know 314 as Pi Day, because it's the first 3 digits of the geometric constant pi. And some people who mark 1:59 in the afternoon for the next 3 digits. There's not a lot of numismatic connection. The Shire Post Mint is now coming out with pizza pie medals that you could, I borrowed their photograph, or you could, of course, do ancient Greek coins or even modern with the letter pi on them. But 314 has more significance for Jews, and that is that by gematria, the numeric value of the Hebrew, 314 is Shaddai, which is one of the names from God. So gematria, which Jews borrowed from the Greeks, assigns a numeric value, Shin being 300, Yud 10, and Dalet 4 for 314. There are various ways of rendering Shaddai in Latin characters. I'm going to be using the one on the left, which is the Yivo transliteration method. So we see Shaddai in the Bible. It's first used in Genesis 17 when God tells Avram of Isaac's impending birth. And most places in Genesis where we see Shaddai or El Shaddai is referring to fertility and God's blessing, whereas Job describes Shaddai as the source of his torments. So this might be related to the term Shaddai, my breasts, being, beneficence, gifts. In the prophets and writings, it seems to be more like Almighty, and there's an etymology, possibly folk etymology, Shaddai, that which said enough. In other words, God stopped the creation process as a symbol of omnipotence. But Shaddai is probably best known as the acronym for Shomer Delatot Yisrael. You can see that on the mezuzah at the far right. It actually spells it out. But there are a number of mezuzot that have Shaddai written on them, or just the Shin. We have this one for Israel's 10th anniversary, 1958. The one next to it on the left is a small gold, probably circa World War I, with the scroll inside and Shaddai peering through the gold casing. And then a small silver, these are not to scale, by the way, a small silver pendant, which I don't think contains a scroll, but a very popular design and is probably supposed to symbolize a mezuzah. Shaddai also appears on a number of small charms. These are 19th and 20th century. They're 10 to 20 millimeters. The ones on the left have a Magen David. The ones on the right, Shaddai is inside of a heart. Kind of in the center, we've got one that has both. These are cast, engraved, and even the one on the bottom right has letters attached like a cloisonne with an engraving looking very much like late 19th century style. We also see Shaddai on love tokens, which is the common name for engraved coins. So Shaddai at the bottom is within a heart, just like we saw with those charms. To the right is a birth amulet on a French gold coin. That's a French 20 franc with the name, if you can't read it, says Maurice Freddy Chaim, and with the late date of 1951, which is kind of late for love tokens, the heyday really ending in the 20s and 30s. And we have a pin with an enameled Shaddai so that it would actually be hidden from the viewer. And at the bottom left, the kind of grainy, that's a scan of a photograph from Entenmann's classic book on love tokens. This is the only Hebrew one he has. And because of the shape of the Dalet, or the misshape of it, he misinterpreted it as the name Sarai. Here are some more love tokens. These are all on US dimes. The one on the right looks like it may have been designed by a Yiddish speaker. It's got a patach under the shin, and the eye is symbolized by zwei Yuden, 2 Yuds, which is the normal Yiddish representation. We have Shaddai with a very small dalet on a Mercury dime, 1943 at the bottom, in the middle, which is rather late for love tokens, but it might have been engraved by a serviceman as a time of trench art. On the bottom left, we have a 1901 dime, and there's actually gilding in the letters. Most of these pieces, I would note, about 3/4 of them are from my own personal collection. Others are photos of probably mostly eBay auctions that got away. So here we have some more amuletic type pieces. So the top 2 are in Russian coins, and they just have the name Shaddai engraved on them. One on the bottom left is a large copper, 2 kopek, and it has Shaddai twice, and then Metatron, which is an angel name whose numeric value, when it's spelled this way, of 314. The amulet on the bottom right has at the top different permutations of the 3 letters. So you start off with Shin Dalet Yud, but then you have Yud Shin Dalet, and Dalet Shin Yud, and Dalet Yud Shin. And you see that on a number of amulets, and then it has angel names below. These engraved coins show the compound name El Shaddai, 2 with graphic designs. At top right is a large Russian copper 5 kopecks with a hand grasping a sword based on a tarot card for the Ace of Swords. And that's why there's an association with Keter, which is the first emanation in Kabbalah. At top is El Shaddai. At right is a Hungary 1884 silver forint with Agla, which is short for Atagi Bor Lelam Hashem. And the 2 letters in Malachi, or angel script, are the initials for El Shaddai. At bottom is an engraving on an 1890 British crown from the first pentacle of the sun in the Key of Solomon. The Mathers edition of that book describes it as the countenance of Shaddai, the Almighty, at whose aspect all creatures obey, and the angelic spirits do reverence on bended knees. Editors note this singular pentacle contains the head of the great angel Metatron, the vice regent and representative of Shaddai, who is called the Prince of the Countenance, right hand of masculine cherub of the ark, as Sandalphon is the left and feminine. There's also a very famous amulet that is ascribed to the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of modern Hasidism, and it has El Shaddai at the very top breast of this angel figure. The amulet at bottom right is inscribed on a large silver plate, while the figure at the bottom left is a piece of a printed amulet. The engraved coins at the top are a US 1884 silver dollar, and at right is a British 1890 half crown. And so one has just the inscription in the center from the angel, and the other one shows the breast and one of the sets of the wings of the angel. Shaddai also appears on struck amulets. So the ones on the left look like they were made as for gifts or an award, with a blank wreath on the back for engraving. One's got Shaddai in a Magen David, and the other one has a fancier design with Hay in a Magen David at the top, the Hay standing for Hashem, with a censer, menorah, and a harp. The one at the right is part of a series that was designed for use in jewelry and shows various blessings. We see a similar artwork here. This has a quote on the back from Shir HaShirim, from the Song of Songs, chapter 7, verse 11, I am my beloved's, and his desire is for me. And it gives the year 5680 with the note, Shanat Hagula, the year of our redemption, or the year of redemption, sorry. That was 1920, referring to the Treaty of San Remo, formally recognizing the Jewish right to a state. There are other amulets. So the one in the center, the place where I saw it claimed that this dated from the Civil War. and I don't know if it was engraved for a Jew. I think that's more likely, but the Hays look a lot like Chetz, so the engraver may not have known the alphabet very well, but has Shaddai at the very top in the Hebrew with other names of God, and then on the back, I am protected by the power of El Shaddai in English. And the amulet on the left has a large hay, which stands for Hashem, a floral design, and a primitive with Shaddai above. Whereas on the right, we've got a primitive hand or Hamsa with Shaddai over Tzamarchad, which is a name based on the last letters of the first 5 verses of Genesis and is said to be Lilith's prison. So this amulet was intended to protect a woman in labor and the newborn. The ones on the left and right are museum reproductions. We have some fancy Italian amulets where the only inscription is the name Shaddai, but it has all sorts of interesting and intricate figures. And these are filigree, probably Italian. The one on left only has Shaddai in very large letters. It's a little hard to see with a fancy background. The one on right, some sort of pillbox or cameo, perhaps even a locket with Shaddai engraved on it. And then at the one on right, we've got Shaddai in a Magen David, and then we've got Karas Satan around it, rend the adversary, which is a line from the name of 42, which is also very popularly used on amulets. And here, Ira might recognize the one on the left. He sent me that photo. We have more filigree. These are larger filigree amulets with Shaddai. And so here we've got some also large ones in silver, and then the one in the center is actually handwritten on vellum in a copper casing. And so we've got Shaddai with blessings, including Genesis 49, which is a fertility blessing. And on the right, we've got the Karas Satan and may God bless you. And on this amulet. Also large amulets. So these are, well, the one on the right is like 50, 60 millimeters. The one on, sorry, on the left. The one on the right is something like 3 or 4 inches square, the centerpiece with Yud Hey Vav Hey Shaddai. And the one on the right has that as the top, and then you've got angel names in alphabetic order from Aleph to Taf, followed by the full name of 42. And then the dangles at the bottom, these little pendants, you see the permutations of the name Shaddai. And these amulets have longer inscriptions. And the one bottom left is a museum replica. And finally, we've got printed amulets that have Shaddai fairly prominently on them. So the one at left, it's on a hand. The one at right, you see it with the Karas Satan. Actually, also the bottom also have those. There are a number of printed amulets available. They were made throughout the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Probably, well, they're even made today, although they're usually made on laminate pieces. So Shaddai amulets can be found in every price range. Older ornate pieces can be quite pricey, particularly the gold love tokens and those containing kosher scrolls. But small charms and pendants can be found for $5 to $25, though may take some searching. There are also a number of metal and printed amulets, which include Shaddai among other inscriptions. So are there any questions?
Simcha, there was a metal, Shaddai metal in the shekel. Here, let me show it. I've never shared my screen before.
Yeah, so well, first you have to have your window open that has what you want to show. Then you do the share screen and then you select that window.
Okay, well, I have the window open.
Okay.
Let's see if I can.
Is that the latest shekel? Because I've only glanced.
No, it's, just trying to get the.
All right, so we can see that. You just need to scroll.
Here it is.
There we go. Yep.
Okay. Anyway, That was, I don't know, back a few shekels.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very common name for God that is used, and particularly in artwork, you see that.
Yeah, okay, good.
You.
Something else you can look for.
Right.
In fact, I think I've seen it on eBay recently.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of amulets, particularly modern reproductions. A lot of jewelry places sell them. All right, so thank you all for attending. Based upon our level of attendance, which has varied between roughly 40 and 60, it looks like there may be enough interest that we could hold meetings. We might try it like every other month at first and see if we have enough momentum to try and go monthly. Anybody have any comments? You can put them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
I would just like to give a plug for AINA. If anybody's not a member of AINA, you can go to www.theshekel.org and you can learn about AINA, and you can also sign up. A digital subscription is only $18 a year, any place in the world. So you would get the 4 digital copies of the shekel, and you'll also be invited to all of our Zoom meetings.
And also, on the website, it gives you the information in a form to fill out. You do not put it on the website. We have no information on the website. Nobody can hack us because we don't store anything. But that means you'll have to either pay by PayPal or mail it in or call with a credit card number to the treasurer.